I'm Barbara Mitchell. I'm 68 years old, and I've learned that blood isn't thicker than water. It's just harder to clean up when it spills. I handed my daughter a debt-free estate worth $2.4 million. A legacy built on 40 years of calculated decisions and silent sacrifice. In return, she handed me a check for $5,000 and a bus schedule. They looked at me across that sterile desk and saw a senile, helpless relic they could discard in a roadside motel. They thought they were flushing a burden. They didn't know I secretly owned the private equity firm that holds the mortgage on their entire lives. They didn't know that while they were planning my eviction, I was buying their debt. By tomorrow morning, they will be inmates, and I will be the one deciding if they get to buy a toothbrush from the commissary. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. The air in the title company office smelled like ozone and cheap floor cleaner. It was a smell that stuck to the back of your throat, dry and chemical. I sat in a chair that was designed to be uncomfortable, the kind with thin padding that forces you to shift your weight every 30 seconds. Across from me, my daughter Rachel was tapping a gold pen against the laminate table. Tap, tap, tap. It was a rhythmic, impatient sound, like a ticking clock counting down the seconds until she could be rid of me. Just sign next to the yellow tab, Mom, Rachel said. Her voice didn't have a shred of warmth in it. It was flat, transactional. She sounded like she was ordering a sandwich she didn't really want. I looked at the document. The bold letters at the top read Final Sale Agreement. Below that, the address of the home I had built with my own vision. The home where I had carried my husband across the threshold. The home where Rachel had taken her first steps. It was all reduced to legal jargon and a sale price that made my stomach turn. And this is the final step, I asked, keeping my voice tremulous. I needed to sound weak. I needed to sound confused. This means the house is gone. Sold, Mom. Not gone. Sold, Marcus corrected me. He was sitting next to Rachel, checking his reflection in the screen of his phone. He didn't even look up. We've been over this. It's too much for you to manage. The stairs, the yard, it's a hazard. It's my home, I whispered, staring at the paper. It was an asset, Rachel said, pushing the paper closer to me. Now it's liquidity. Sign it and we can get you to your new arrangement. I picked up the pen. My hand shook. It wasn't an act. The rage vibrating in my bones made my whole body tremble. I signed my name, Barbara Mitchell. The letters looked jagged, broken. Rachel snatched the paper away before the ink was even dry. She handed it to the escrow officer, a young woman who looked like she wanted to be anywhere else on earth. Then she reached into her jacket pocket. She pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. There, she said, that's for you. I opened it. Inside was a cashier's check for $5,000. $5. My house had just sold for $2.4 million. What is this? I asked, looking up at her. It's a nest egg, Marcus said, finally looking at me. His eyes were cold, hard chips of flint. For your expenses. We found you a lovely room at the Budget Inn by the highway. We paid for the first week. After that, you can use this. A motel, I asked. But you said there would be an apartment, a facility. Plans changed, Rachel said, standing up. She checked her watch. It was a bulky, gaudy thing that cost more than my first car. Look, Mom, we have to go. We have a celebration dinner to get to. You can find your way to the highway, right? The bus stop is just outside. Celebration, I asked. You're celebrating making me homeless. We're celebrating our future, Marcus said, standing up and smoothing his jacket. He looked at me with pure disgust. Try not to spend that all in one place, Barbara. And please do something about your cardigan. It smells like mothballs and failure. They turned their backs on me. They walked out of the glass door without a backward glance. No hug, no goodbye. Just the click-clack of Marcus's dress shoes and the heavy thud of the door closing. I sat there for a moment, looking at the $5,000 check. I felt the texture of the paper. It was crisp, real, just like the betrayal. I folded it neatly and placed it in my pocket. Then I let the senile old woman act drop from my face like a heavy mask. I straightened my spine. I took a deep breath of the chemical air. Ma'am, the escrow officer asked, looking concerned. Are you okay? Do you need me to call a cab? I looked at her. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a wolf that just realized the gate to the sheep pen was unlatched. No, thank you, my dear, I said, my voice strong and clear. My ride is already here. I walked out onto the curb. The sun was blinding, reflecting off the asphalt in shimmering waves of heat. I saw them down the street. Rachel and Marcus were laughing, high-fiving each other as they climbed into a brand-new cherry-red Porsche 911. The engine roared to life, a guttural, aggressive sound that echoed off the buildings. They peeled away, leaving a streak of rubber on the road. They were speeding toward a cliff, drunk on a victory that wasn't theirs. They thought they had just cashed out a lottery ticket. They didn't know the ticket was forged. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Not the cheap flip phone I used around them. This was an encrypted satellite smartphone, slimmer than a credit card. I pressed a single button. "I'm out," I said. "ETA 30 seconds, Ms. Mitchell," a deep voice responded. I didn't have to wait long. Around the corner, gliding silently through the traffic like a phantom, came the car. It wasn't a taxi. It wasn't a bus. It was a Bentley Flying Spur, elongated, armored, and painted a black so deep it seemed to absorb the light. The car pulled up to the curb right where the Porsche had been. The back door opened. A man in a dark suit stepped out. He was 6'4", built like a tank, with eyes that scanned the street for threats before landing on me. "Good afternoon, Ms. Mitchell," he said, holding the door open. "Good afternoon, David," I said. "Take me to the peninsula." I slid into the back seat. The door closed with a heavy, reassuring thunk, sealing out the noise of the city. The air inside was cool and smelled of rich leather and cedar. I leaned back into the seat, closing my eyes. "Rough meeting, ma'am," David asked from the front, his eyes meeting mine in the rearview mirror. "Insightful, David," I said. "Very insightful. I just learned the market price of a mother's love. Apparently, it's $5,000. That seems undervalued." "Ma'am," David said, merging the massive car smoothly into traffic. "Grossly," I agreed, "but the market is about to correct itself." The Peninsula Hotel rose above the city like a citadel of glass and steel. It was a place where captains of industry and foreign dignitaries stayed, a place where privacy was the most expensive commodity on the menu. The Bentley pulled into the private VIP entrance, bypassing the main lobby. The staff was already waiting, a team of 4, led by the hotel manager, Ms. Jordan. She was a woman of impeccable poise, her suit tailored to perfection. "Ms. Mitchell," she said, bowing her head slightly as I stepped out of the car. "Welcome back. We have the presidential suite prepared exactly as you prefer. The humidors are stocked and the temperature is set to 68 degrees. "Thank you, Miss Jordan," I said, walking past her. "I'll need total privacy for the next 48 hours. No housekeeping, no interruptions." "Understood, ma'am. Ms. Hayes is already waiting for you upstairs." I took the private elevator to the penthouse. The doors opened directly into the living room, a sprawling space with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of the Chicago skyline. Standing by the window was Patricia Hayes, my lawyer, my fixer, my right hand for 30 years. She was a woman who wore 3-piece suits like armor and treated the law like a weapon she could sharpen. She turned as I walked in. She held a tumbler of amber liquid in her hand. "Pappy Van Winkle, 23-year, she said, holding up the bottle. "I thought you might need it." "I need something stronger than bourbon, Patricia," I said, throwing my mothball-scented cardigan onto one of the velvet armchairs. "I need answers. Tell me everything." Patricia walked over to the large dining table. It was covered in laptops, tablets, and stacks of files. She pressed a key on the main computer, and a projector screen descended from the ceiling. "The room is clean," Patricia said. "We swept it 10 minutes ago. We can speak freely." "Did the sale close?" I asked, pouring myself a drink. "Officially recorded at 2:15 p.m., Patricia said. "The wire transfer for $2.4 million hit the escrow account. It's currently sitting in a holding pattern before it disperses to Rachel's account. And the mortgage. That's the ugly part," Patricia said. She clicked a remote. A document appeared on the screen. "She didn't just sell the house, Barbara. She leveraged it first. 3 weeks ago, she used the power of attorney. The one she tricked you into signing, to take out a secondary loan against the equity. $800 she double-dipped," I said, shaking my head. "Greedy, fool, desperate fool," Patricia corrected. "We followed the money. That 800 grand didn't go to cars or jewelry. It went directly to an offshore shell company in the Cayman Islands. From there, it bounced through a dozen servers until it landed in Detroit." "Detroit?" I asked. "What's in Detroit?" "Not what," Patricia said grimly. "Who? A syndicate run by a man named Vincent Kane. They deal in high-stakes illegal gambling, loan sharking, and extortion. Rachel has been betting on sports, Barbara, and she's been losing badly. How much? Total debt is 2.8 million, Patricia said. The 800 grand was just the interest payment to keep them from breaking her legs. She needs the $2.4 million from the house sale to pay off the principal. If she doesn't pay by Friday at noon, they kill her. I stared at the screen. My daughter wasn't just a thief. She was a dead woman walking. She had sold her mother's home not to get rich, but to stay alive. She should have come to me, I said softly. She thinks you're broke. Patricia reminded me. She thinks you're a retired executive with a pension and a paid-off house. She doesn't know about Mitchell Industries. She doesn't know about the patents. She doesn't know you're worth 9 figures. She never asked, I said, the old anger flaring up. She just took. So what's the play? Patricia asked. We have the revocation of the power of attorney. I filed it days ago. Legally, the sale is void. The mortgage is fraud. We can send the police to pick her up right now. No, I said. Police are too clean, too quick. She needs to feel it. She needs to understand the weight of what she did. We're running out of time, Patricia warned. If she doesn't pay the syndicate by Friday, they will act. If we arrest her, she goes to jail, and the syndicate can't touch her. But if we wait, we don't wait, I said. We accelerate. I walked to the window and looked down at the city. Somewhere out there, Rachel was celebrating, thinking she had survived. We need to give her hope, I said. We need her to think she's won, not just the house, but everything. I want to dangle a prize so big she forgets to look for the trap. Greed is her weakness, Patricia agreed. What kind of prize? Charles, I said. She always thought her father hid money. She used to badger him about it. We're going to prove her right. A hidden account, a life insurance policy, I said, turning back to Patricia. An old one, something he forgot to mention. Worth, let's say, $250,000. That's enough to get her attention. Patricia nodded, but not enough to make her suspicious. It fits the narrative. But we're not just going to hand it to her, I said. I want to make her work for it. I want to see how far she'll go. We're going to send her on a scavenger hunt, a hunt. The policy isn't in a bank, I said, a cold smile forming. It's in storage, in a box of his old things, things she hasn't looked at in 10 years because she didn't care. I want to force her to dig through the memories she threw away. Patricia pulled out her phone. I'll set up the false paper trail. Safe store on the east side, I said, the one near the railroad. It's dirty, it's loud, and it smells like rust. Rent a unit, fill it with boxers. Put the decoy document in the bottom of a box marked Charles's winter clothes. You want her to dig through her dead father's clothes? Patricia asked, raising an eyebrow. I want to see if she has any shame left, I said. And Patricia, make sure the unit has a dirt floor. 2 hours later, I was standing in an alleyway behind a pawn shop in the gritty part of town. I had bought a burner phone for $20 cash. It was a piece of plastic junk that felt like a toy in my hand. I dialed the number I knew by heart. It rang 4 times. What? Rachel answered. She sounded drunk. Loud music was thumping in the background. Rachel. I made my voice crack. I pitched it up, breathless, panicked. Rachel, it's Mom. Mom. She groaned. Jesus, I told you not to call. I gave you the check. Go to the motel. I'm busy. I know, sweetheart. I know, I stammered. But I found something in my old coat. I was looking for a tissue, and I found a letter from your father. The music in the background dipped slightly. What are you talking about? A policy, Rachel, I whispered. He had a policy with Sterling Private Capital. He never told me. It's for $250,000. Silence. The music stopped completely. Repeat that number, Rachel said. Her voice was sober now. 250,000, I said, but I don't know what to do. It says I need the policy number to claim it, and the paper. The paper says the original policy is in the storage unit. What storage unit? The one I rented years ago for his winter things. I lied. I haven't been there in ages. I'm scared to go alone. Rachel, it's dark and I don't have a car. Please, I just want to claim it so I can afford a better place than this motel. Stay where you are, Rachel said. The greed in her voice was so thick you could choke on it. Where are you? I'm at the pawn shop on 4th and Main, I said. Please hurry. Don't move, she ordered. We're coming. Click. I tossed the burner phone into a dumpster. The hook was set. I waited at the diner next to the pawn shop. The Silver Diner. It was a place where the coffee tasted like battery acid and the tables were sticky with decades of grease. I sat in a booth near the window, hunching my shoulders, making myself look smaller. Older. 20 minutes later, the Porsche roared up. It looked like a spaceship landed in a junkyard. Marcus was driving. He looked furious. They stormed into the diner. Marcus was wearing a white silk shirt and dress shoes that clicked aggressively on the linoleum. Rachel looked disheveled, her blouse untucked, sweat beading on her forehead. "Where is it?" Rachel demanded, sliding into the booth opposite me. She didn't say hello. She didn't ask how I was. "Show me the letter." I fumbled in my pocket. I pulled out a crumpled piece of paper Patricia had forged. It looked old, yellowed. "Here," I said, my hands shaking. "It says, right here, Sterling Private Capital." Rachel snatched it. Marcus leaned over her shoulder, his eyes scanning the numbers. "To 5 OK," he whispered. His eyes lit up with a predatory gleam. "Rachel, that's the V. That covers the interest for another 3 months." "Shut up," Rachel hissed at him. She looked at me. "The policy, the original document, the letter says it's in box 42, I said. "In the storage unit, but I lost the key." "We'll cut the lock," Rachel said, standing up. "Let's go now," I asked. "But it's late and it's raining." "We go now," Marcus snapped. "Get in the car, Barbara." The rain had started to fall, a cold, miserable drizzle that turned the dirt lot of Safe Store facility into a slurry of mud and oil. The facility was a graveyard of shipping containers and rusted metal lockers. Marcus parked the Porsche as close to Unit B19 as he could, but there was still 20 feet of mud between the car and the door. "I am not walking in that," he declared, looking at his shoes. "You want the money," Rachel yelled, getting out. "Get the flashlight." I climbed out of the back seat. I moved slowly, exaggerating every ache. "My hip," I muttered. "Move it, old woman," Rachel said, grabbing my arm and pulling me toward the unit. 92. Rachel stared. She blinked. She rubbed her eyes and looked again. "Million," she whispered. 92 million, I corrected. "And change." Rachel slowly turned her head to look at me. The color had drained from her face so completely she looked like a corpse. "You," she choked out, "you have $92 million. "I do," I said. "I built the guidance systems for the drones you see on the news." "Rachel, I patented the logistics software that runs half the shipping in this country. I've been rich since you were in diapers." "But the house," she stammered. "The sedan, the coupons." "I wanted you to build your own character," I said. "I wanted you to work. I wanted you to be a woman, not a parasite." "You lied to me," Rachel roared, slamming her hand on the table. "All my life, I was struggling. I was drowning in debt. And you were sitting on this. You were drowning in debt because you gamble," I said coldly. "And you didn't struggle. I paid for your college. I paid for your wedding. I gave you every opportunity. And what did you do? You tried to steal the only thing you thought I had." "I needed it," she screamed. "I owe them. They're going to kill me." "I know," I said. "You know." "I know about Detroit," I said. "I know about Vincent Kane. I know about the 2.8 million. Rachel froze. "If you know, then help me." "Mom, please. You have 92 million. 2.8 is nothing to you. Write the check. Save me." I leaned forward. "Save you? You put me in a motel," I said quietly. "You made me dig through your father's clothes in the mud. You ripped up his memory. You stole my house. You forged a mortgage. And now you want me to save you. I'm your daughter." "No," I said. "You're a thief." The doors to the boardroom burst open. Patricia walked in. Behind her were 4 police officers in tactical gear. "Rachel Harper, Marcus Harper," Patricia announced. "You are under arrest." Marcus screamed. He jumped up, knocking his chair over. "No, no. We have the power of attorney. It's legal." She signed it. He waved the muddy paper at the police. Patricia laughed. It was a dry, barking sound. "That document." She walked over and plucked the paper from his hand. "This document was revoked last Monday," Patricia said. "Miss Mitchell filed the revocation with the county clerk 3 days before you took out that second mortgage, and 5 days before you sold the house." Rachel's eyes went wide. "Revoke, which means," Patricia continued, "that every signature you made, every loan you took, every transfer you authorized in the last week was fraud, bank fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, and elder abuse." "You set us up," Rachel whispered, looking at me. The realization was dawning on her. The false lead, the storage unit, the insurance. It was all a game. "It was a test," I said. "And you failed." "Cuff them," Patricia ordered. The officers moved in. They grabbed Rachel and twisted her arms behind her back. The click of the handcuffs was the sweetest sound I had ever heard. Marcus wasn't going quietly. As the officer grabbed him, he lunged, not at the cop, but at Rachel. He dragged his nails down her face. "You idiot," he shrieked. "You told me she was nothing. You told me she was broke. 92 million. We could have waited. We could have inherited it. Get him off me," Rachel yelled, bleeding from a scratch on her cheek. "You ruined us," Marcus screamed as the officers dragged him backward. "I hate you. I hate you." They dragged them toward the door. Rachel stopped and looked back at me. Her eyes were wild, filled with terror. "Mom," she yelled. "Mom, you can't let them take me. The syndicate, if I go to jail, I can't pay them. They'll kill me inside." "Mom," I looked at her. I picked up my glass of water and took a sip. "Goodbye, Rachel," I said. The trial took place 3 months later. It was the sensation of the city, the secret tycoon, and the ungrateful daughter. The courtroom was packed. I sat in the front row, wearing a suit that cost more than the house they had tried to sell. I wanted them to see it. I wanted them to see exactly who they had underestimated. Rachel looked terrible. She had lost 20 pounds. Her hair was thinning. Prison food and fear didn't agree with her. Marcus looked worse. He had aged 10 years in 3 months. I took the stand. The defense attorney tried to paint me as a manipulator. He tried to say I entrapped them. "Ms. Mitchell," the lawyer said, pacing in front of the jury, "you could have stopped this at any time. You could have told your daughter the truth about your wealth. Why didn't you?" I looked at the jury, 12 ordinary people. "Because I wanted to know who she was," I said. "If I told her I had money, she would have loved me for the money. I wanted to see if she loved me." The lawyer asked. "She didn't," I said. "She loved the idea of my death. She loved the idea of selling my home. She didn't come to me as a daughter in trouble. She came to me as a butcher coming to slaughter a cow." The lawyer had no more questions. Thought the verdict came back in 4 hours. "Guilty on all counts." Thought the judge was a stern man who had no patience for elder abuse. "Rachel Harper," he said, "for the crimes of fraud, grand larceny, and elder abuse, I sentence you to 15 years in state prison." 15 years, Rachel screamed. She stood up, overturning her table. "No, you can't. You're killing me." The bailiffs grabbed her. As they dragged her away, she locked eyes with me. "You think you won," she shrieked, foam gathering at the corners of her mouth. "You think you're safe. The syndicate knows. They know you have the money now. They're coming for you. You're dead, old woman. You're dead." 1 month later, I was back in the boardroom at Sterling Private Capital. It was just me and Patricia. The city lights twinkled below us. "She was right, you know," Patricia said. She slid a file across the table. "My contacts in Detroit confirm it. Vincent Kane is not happy about losing his $2.8 million. He knows you have the capital. He's preparing to make a move. A move. Kidnapping. Extortion. Maybe a hit," Patricia said. "We need to get you out of the country. I have a chalet in Zurich. High security." "I'm not running, Patricia," I said. "These aren't lawyers, Barbara. These are killers. They're businessmen," I said. "Ruthless ones, but businessmen. They have a balance sheet. Right now, Rachel is a bad asset. She's in prison for 15 years. She can't pay. That debt is a total loss for them. So I'm going to make a purchase," I said. I picked up the phone and dialed the number Patricia had provided, a secure line. "This is Ms. Mitchell," I said when the voice on the other end answered. "You have some balls calling this line, old lady," a gravelly voice said. "Vincent Kane." "I'm a pragmatist, Mr. Kane," I said. "You have a bad debt on your books. Rachel Harper, 2.8 million owed. It's your debt now," Kane growled. "Blood for blood." "I don't pay other people's debts," I said calmly, "but I do buy distressed assets. I'm offering you a buyout. 1.4 million cash, wired to your account in the Caymans within the hour." Silence on the line. "You want to buy your daughter's debt?" Kane asked, confused. "Why, to forgive it." "That's my business," I said. "Do you want 50 cents on the dollar today, or do you want to chase a ghost for 15 years? Kane laughed. It was a dark, ugly sound. "You're a cold bitch, Mitchell. I like you. Send the wire. The debt is yours. We never saw you." I hung up the phone. "It's done," I told Patricia. "I own the debt. You just paid $1.4 million to save the woman who tried to destroy you," Patricia said, shaking her head. "I don't understand." "I didn't save her," I said. I stood up and walked to the window. "Rachel thinks she's paying the syndicate," I explained. "She thinks if she stops paying, they'll kill her in the yard. That fear is the only thing keeping her waking up every morning." I turned back to Patricia. "I set up a garnishment order through a shell company," I said. "Every cent she earns in that prison workshop, what is it, 40 cents an hour, goes to the shell company. She thinks it's going to Detroit. Where is it actually going? Patricia asked. To the Charles Mitchell Justice Foundation, I said. My new charity. We fund legal defense for elderly victims of financial fraud. I smiled. My daughter is going to spend the next 15 years scrubbing toilets and sewing men. She will work until her fingers bleed, and every penny she earns will go to protecting people like me from people like her. She'll never know. Patricia asked. Never, I said. Let her live in fear. Let her think the wolves are at the door. It's the only way she'll ever learn the value of a dollar. I looked out at the city. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of purple and gold. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't a lonely old woman in a motel. I was Barbara Mitchell. I had cleaned up the mess. Come on, Patricia, I said, grabbing my coat. I'm hungry. Let's go get a steak. And this time, we're taking the Bentley. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.